let me introduce you to Easy Ways to Add Fruits and Vegetables into Your Day, presented by Melissa Dunlop, registered dietitian for Niagara North Family Health Team.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to those that are watching live and those that may watch later on. I would like to acknowledge halfyourplate.ca as I have used some of their materials and worked to create this presentation for you today. So this presentation is really for those who are food secure, but they're looking for money and time saving tips when it comes to eating more fruits and vegetables. So why fruits and vegetables? Just quickly, because I know we've heard it a million times before, fruits and vegetables are good for us. So why? I would say because for one thing, it's one thing that we can all agree on in the nutrition world, right? So there's always a lot of back and forth in the nutrition world, and fruits and vegetables always seem to get a good rep. So that's one reason. Even when you look at all kinds of different fad diets, they always tend to include vegetables. When we look at all of the scientific diets in Canada's Food Guide, the Mediterranean diet, a big portion of those diets talk about fruits and vegetables. So in my practice, what I commonly see is that people are not eating enough fruits and vegetables. So people often come in to see me and they're looking for answers. They're looking for, weight loss or managing their chronic disease. And they're usually a little bit disappointed when my advice is eat more vegetables. But they really are that important and can have that much of an impact on your overall diet. So often people talk to me about not having enough time to prepare their vegetables, or they don't like them, or that they go to waste. So today we're going to talk about some of these barriers and some solutions. So fruits and vegetables bring a lot to the table. So of course, fiber. So the latest Canadian data show that 75% of Canadians do not get enough fiber in their diets. We need about 25 to 35 grams of fiber per day, and fruits and vegetables are great sources of fiber. Fiber is important for our gut health, can reduce colon cancer, it can help stabilize our blood sugars. So again, fruits and vegetables are a great source of fiber. Fruits and vegetables are also very hydrating. So, our bodies are mainly made up of water, so it's important to get enough, and fruits and vegetables are a good way to do that. I have volume here because fruits and vegetables can really add more volume to your meals. So if you're cooking some pasta and you throw in some frozen vegetables in the cooking water the last little bit of time, then you have your pasta and your veggies. So you're going to add volume, and that's going to help with satiety and keeping you feeling full. We know that veggies and fruits contain lots of vitamins and minerals. So again, Canadian data showing 47% of Canadians are not meeting their vitamin A recommendations and 60% not meeting potassium recommendations. So we know that we're probably not getting enough of these fruits and vegetables because they're strong, rich sources of these vitamins and minerals. Variety. So I think fruits and vegetables are great because there's so many of them out there. So they really do help to add variety, texture to our meals. And the last point I have here is they contain phytonutrients. So phyto meaning plant nutrient, or often they're called phytochemicals. So these are what are responsible for all the bright colors of fruits and vegetables, and what I find most exciting about fruits and vegetables. So a little bit about phytonutrients. So we've been told to eat the rainbow, and as I said, the phytonutrients are what make up the colors in your fruits and vegetables. So the reason they're saying, you need to eat a rainbow of these and try to get fruits and vegetables in each of the different color groups is because each of these groups contain different types of phytonutrients. And there's literally thousands of these, and even more that they say have not been discovered yet. So these phytonutrients help fight inflammation. They're good for our immunity, nervous system. They help with aging, disease prevention, eye health. The list really goes on. So as you can see here, there's, all the different colors and some of the sources. This chart doesn't give all of the different foods, but you can kind of get an idea anyway of the different colors and what they help. So often people will ask me, can I take a supplement? And really what the scientists say is that they think that it's kind of a complex thing with the fiber, your vitamins, minerals, and the phytonutrients all working together. And that's what actually creates the amazing health benefits. So if I could put it in a pill, I'd probably be a millionaire, but we can't. So, because it's a complex system that's working together to create these health benefits, and more of a reason why we need to eat kind of a rainbow of colors and eat more fruits and vegetables. So here's a true and false for you. Raw vegetables are more nutritious, than cooked. True or false? So false. So the answer is actually kind of not always. So high heat and cooking in water can decrease the vitamin C content in some vegetables, but some nutrients can actually benefit from cooking. So some of those phytonutrients, such as lycopene, is actually increased when you cook tomatoes. Beta carotene is also increased in cooked carrots. The other thing that happens with cooking is that sometimes it destabilizes these things like oxalates that inhibit absorption of certain nutrients such as iron. So your leafy greens like spinach is actually, the iron in the spinach is actually better absorbed when it's cooked. And of course, cooking can also enhance your flavor and change the textures of your vegetables, making them tastier. So here's an example of, you've got your raw tomatoes and then your cooked tomatoes with lots of good lycopene in them. Okay, so how much fruits and vegetables are we actually supposed to have? So on the left, this is actually the new Canada's Food Guide, January 2019. So not really talking too much about serving sizes anymore, just the idea that we should fill half our plates at meals with fruits and vegetables. I always say kind of half fruits and vegetables at breakfast, and then lunch and supper trying to make that half plate veggies, or more so veggies and maybe a small portion of it fruit. So here's a great actual plate on the right that is showing that half plate and what it would actually look like if it was a meal. So they used to say, 5 to 10 a day. We used to say half cup cooked or 1 cup raw would be 1 serving. But really, I kind of like to simplify it and just say, fill half your plate with those veggies and you'd be really doing a great job. So another true and false here. So the best way to get kids to eat vegetables is to tell them, eat your vegetables. So I love this little guy's face. So what do we think? Do we think that's the way? Of course, this is false. So in actual fact, the best way to get kids to eat their vegetables is to say nothing at all. So research actually supports that role modeling, eating vegetables, so sitting at the table with your children and eating vegetables and smiling and enjoying those vegetables actually will help to encourage vegetable eating more so than if you tell them to eat their vegetables. Some other tips would be to, get them involved, of course. So, maybe you plant this little garden here. You let them help you pick out veggies at the grocery store. You let them help you to prepare the vegetables. But one of the biggest tips that people are surprised about, or not always willing to try, but once they do, I've had such good success with families, is offering the suggestion of having foods served family style. So what that means is that you would put all the foods that you're having on the table, and everyone would have a blank plate, and then they would serve themselves. So you can see here in this picture where there's the tongs and everything is on the table, and everyone can serve themselves. So that gives kids a little bit more control, puts them feeling more confident and independent. They love using these tongs. And I always say, when you're starting out with these family style meals, try kind of deconstructed meals. So meals, you know, things like tacos, or here it looks like they're having wraps, where everybody can kind of choose their specific ingredients and put them onto their plate. So another tip, you know, and I did it with my kids, and my husband kind of thought I was crazy, but I would serve dessert alongside with our supper or with our meal. So, you know, often we hear, you know, if you don't eat broccoli, you can't have dessert. We really don't want to do that, because when we say that, we're really putting that dessert on a pedestal. You know, you have to do the bad thing, eat the broccoli before you get the dessert. And we really want to level the playing field. There's no good versus bad foods. We want to just level it out. So here's the plate, and they've got their fruit and veggies, and they've got their cookies there on the plate. So that's kind of the idea, that they've served themselves, and they've taken the cookies along with all the other foods. So again, those family style meals, I think, is one of the most important things for encouraging fruit and vegetable intake. It's also important to recognize that, you know, you have to be patient, because they say it can take 15 times of introducing a new food before it will be accepted. So just some tips, because I really enjoy kind of this area, and I think there's a lot that we can do for, you know, starting off kids with eating more fruits and vegetables. So another true or false: frozen fruits and vegetables are less nutritious than fresh. What do we think? So false. So fresh, frozen, or canned without added sugar and salt are all nutritious options. So I like this little graphic. Fresh is fantastic, frozen is fun, and canned counts. But really, they're all really good options. When you are buying canned fruits, you want to make sure that they're in water or in their own juice, because sometimes they're canned in syrups or with a lot of added sugar. And when you're buying your veggies, your canned vegetables, again, you can look, most companies, like their store brand label will have no salt added options now. So that's what you want to look for if you're buying the canned. But canned is really, and frozen, both are quick and easy to prepare, right? So I think I like the benefit of the frozen vegetables already being chopped up and ready to go, as well as the canned. And they're often more affordable, especially, you know, when you're buying something that's not in season. They last longer. So, you know, one of the reasons for food waste is because, you know, things kind of go bad in your fridge. So the benefit of them being ready all the time is great. And again, ideal for quarantine. So I have this in here because I found that, you know, I was much better during COVID in making sure that I was using up my frozen fruits and veggies and my canned, and really relying more on those and learning kind of how to prepare them in different ways. So really, again, just as nutritious, because, you know, when you think of fresh, sometimes too, with storage and, you know, long travel time, those fresh things can be, you know, losing some of their nutrients, whereas the frozen are, you know, frozen at peak time and remain, you know, nutritious. Excellent. So let's go through some more cost saving tips. So really, prices have gone up on everything, as we probably know, most people have noticed. So food included, Canadians spend 9.7% more on food in April 2022 than in April 2021. So a 9.7% increase. So one of the things that they've noticed is that due to cost of food going up, Canadians have been buying less fruits and vegetables. So we want to obviously encourage people to keep buying fruits and vegetables, but find cost saving tips. So So one of these other cost saving tips, other than buying your canned and frozen, would be to check your store flyers. So I am kind of a flyer nerd. I love to look at all my flyers on Friday on my Reebie. And I also just learned about Flip, which is a fantastic app because you can actually type in, cucumber, and all the prices for the cucumber in your nearby stores will show up. So, you can also use a lot of the grocery stores have kind of their apps for their specific grocery store or your loyalty programs. So I think all these things kind of help you to make it easier to check your store flyers, and where you shop really does make a big difference. As you can see, this is from Toronto. It's from April of this year, it's April 7th to the 13th. And this little graphic shows you, store A versus store B, and then the price and the cost savings. So, in 1 week, they save $14. So I find this, for sure myself when I'm shopping, that definitely it does matter where you shop. So another cost saving tip would be to buy in season. So you can check out the Ontario availability guide through Foodland Ontario has a really great one. That's pictured here. I know you can't really read it, but I just wanted to show you what it looks like. So, buying in season also, it's not only a cost saving tip, really, it's a taste tip as well, because things do taste better when they're in season, and not even just on Ontario, but anywhere in the world when you're buying the food, when it's actually in season, it does tend to taste better. So, shopping at farmers markets, a lot of our markets and farm stands in Niagara area, a lot of times they sell seconds as well, which can be, maybe not, eaten fresh. They may not look as good, but you can use them to make jam. You can, making applesauce, use them in baked goods, dips, spreads, that kind of thing. So there's lots of ways to use them. I also put here small scale farms. So if you haven't heard that of small scale farms, Google it. So every Saturday, they have an interesting program where you can pay what you can. So it's you can drive up and they'll give you a basket of fresh fruits and vegetables. And it's kind of, it's pay what you can. So those that can pay a little bit more help support those that can't pay as much. So it's a very cool program that they have going on. So number 3, buy only what you need. So shop at home first. So how many times have you gone to buy something? I know I do it all the time. I come home and I already had that in the cupboard. I already had that in the fridge. So shop at home first, keep a running grocery list, because this can really help. When you're buying, think about the shelf life of things. So maybe buy, a couple things that have short shelf life that you're going to use right away, and then things that have longer shelf life that you'll use later on in the week or the start of the following week. Also, again, along with that is buying, produce in varying degrees of ripeness. So maybe you don't buy, 4 things that are ripe already. You buy 1 that's ripe and 2 or 3 that are going to ripen later on. I think it's so important to meal plan. I think that this really helps with food waste, and it doesn't have to be a full week. I find sometimes, even just meal planning 3 days at a time makes it a little bit easier and manageable. So again, creating that meal plan, doing the shopping list, and then just buying what you need. The other thing in going with that is that, I'm guilty often of buying, a huge variety of things, a huge variety of produce, instead of just, when you're creating that meal plan, think about how can you use up, the whole cabbage that week, or, all of those sweet potatoes or whatever it is. So, you plan to make a couple meals in a row that will use up that entire, ingredient, so that you're not wasting. And always remember to take your shopping list with you. So I tend to put it in my notes on my phone because, the paper ends up sitting on the counter. So yes. And I found, again, during COVID, I got better at kind of using up what was in the house first, shopping at home first. I think some of those skills that we learned, we should continue with, because we did get better at some of those things. All right. So again, kind of, I already mentioned about using up the entire ingredient that you buy. Also the idea of root to stem cooking. So you can find lots online about this. So, the stalks, so your broccoli and cauliflower stalks, you can shred those and add those to salad instead of throwing them away. Your tops of your beets, your turnips, your radishes, those greens can be chopped up, stir fried in garlic. Your ends of your potato or your carrots, your onion, instead of just throwing those in the compost bin, you can freeze them and then use them when you're making like a homemade broth or a soup. There's a really great head to toe broccoli soup recipe, and it comes from this Rock What You've Got recipes for reducing food waste. It was by the Guelph Family Health Teams. This is a great little cookbook that has a lot of great information about reducing food waste, and it has those kind of cook once meals but eat twice to use up everything that you have. So it's a great resource, and it's free online. If you just Google Rock What You've Got, you'll find it. So again, another really important cost saving tip is to learn how to select, store, and freeze fresh produce. So it's awful when you go to the store and you buy that watermelon and you come home and it's overripe or not so good. So we want to prevent that from happening. So halfyourplate.ca, they have an amazing fruit and vegetable A to Z guide. And in this guide, it actually has tips on, how to select it, how to store it, and then, how to freeze it, or ideas for preparation. So with the watermelon, I learned that I tend to knock on the watermelon, and if it sounds hollow, that's a good sign. If you shake the watermelon, you shouldn't be able to hear the seeds. That's probably an overripe one. So those are just some of the tips. Also, when you buy your watermelon, don't leave it on the counter. Actually put it in the fridge even before you slice it, and that will help to preserve it. So there's lots of really good tips, and it really covers a lot of different fruits and vegetables in this guide. So again, available online at halfyourplate.ca. So true or false, all produce should be stored in the fridge. So false, again, it depends on the fruit and veggie and whether it's ripe or not. So do not store the following in the fridge: tomatoes, bananas, potatoes, garlic, and onion. So again, some fruits and vegetables also produce gases that will ripen other fruit and vegetables more quickly. So, that can actually be a good thing if you have, an avocado that you want to ripen a little quicker. If you put a banana beside it, that will help to ripen it. But if you don't want it to ripen too quickly, you definitely want to separate those. So, again, the guide really talks about, which fruits and vegetables produce those gases and which ones to store separately. So another great website or resource is Love Food, Hate Waste. So they also have a really great resource on what to do with, with any kind of fruit and vegetable. So they have 5 ways with cabbage, for instance. I keep using cabbage, but it's an example. So they'll give you 5 different things that you can do with it. And again, they also give you ways to store it. And also other tips. So apples ripen 10 times faster when they're stored on the counter versus in the fridge. So again, apples are one of those fruits that produce the gas that can ripen other fruits more quickly. So again, that could be used to your advantage or disadvantage. And again, using those apples up. So again, like I was talking about, is the seconds at the farmer's market. You can buy those seconds apples. They may not look great. They might not be great to eat as an apple, but you can bake with them, make baked apples, applesauce. You can dry them and make apple chips. Freezing apples, if you just slice them and put them on a cookie tray, freeze them for a little while until they're hard, and then throw them in a freezer bag. So lots of tips like that to help make sure that we're not wasting food. So that was some money saving tips. Now, how are we going to make sure that we eat more vegetables? So a lot of the times what I hear is, not loving the taste of them, or I just really don't have the time to prepare them. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and what we can do about it. So taste, when it comes to taste, so it's interesting because some people may find vegetables taste bitter. Some people are kind of those super tasters, or they genetically find that things taste more bitter. They also talk about how early exposure in the womb can determine our preferences. As well as, how we've grown up, what we've eaten as we've grown up, or what we practice in different cultures, that can have an impact on, on our taste preferences as well, which I think is the most important thing, because this is what I see in practice, is that it's the rest of our diet. So, and it's supported by the research. So a recent stat is that almost 50% of calories in the Canadian diet come from ultra processed foods that are nutrient poor. So if we eat these processed foods, we kind of train our taste buds to prefer those. So then, the vegetables taste even more bitter than maybe they are. So the good news is, though, that the opposite is also true. We can train our taste buds to like vegetables. If we eat more whole foods, we can learn to like them. So with a little help. So this comes from Precision Nutrition, and they have this kind of formula or steps to help people enjoy vegetables even more. So the first step is to challenge. So the challenge is to pick a vegetables to start with. So again, like we talked about, exposure can reduce a dislike for the vegetable. So we want to challenge, we want to pick a vegetable to start with, and then we want to complement it. So we want to add 1 to 3 complementary flavors that really, we use them at the same time. So they're really going to kind of awake those taste buds and reduce kind of that, maybe those veggie flavors that we're not as fond of. The next step is to add a cushion. So these cushions are what are really meant to balance out kind of the bitterness of the vegetables. And then the last step is to choose our cooking method. Because that can make a big difference. So you've had, if you've grown up eating boiled vegetables that were kind of boiled to death, and you learn to roast them, it's like a totally different thing. I always use cauliflower as an example because, boiled cauliflower is, it's okay. But when you roast cauliflower, it is delicious. So the cooking method can make a big difference. So let's go through the complementary flavors that we're going to add. So again, it said, you can add 1 to 3 of these. So spices. So, you can experiment with different spice combinations. There's even, in the grocery store, they even have some that are already prepped and ready to go for you. Garlic, ginger, again, fresh herbs. So again, maybe you have a little herb garden on your patio or outside your door. Chopped fresh chilies. So these are all kind of, spices are one way to kind of complement the flavors. Or you can add sour. So I always think of steamed broccoli and just squirting a little bit of lemon juice on the broccoli, and how it really adds, it adds something to that broccoli. So you can do that. Adding vinegar, so cider, rice, or wine vinegar. There's lots of options there. You can include preserved vegetables, pickles, chilies. You can mix in even fermented vegetables. Lots of options to kind of add that sour taste. And last, that salt, some salt is okay. So again, capers or olives, add in that Dijon, you know, a feta cheese, a little bit of feta cheese goes a long way, anchovies or even seaweed. So these are all your complementary flavors. And then we get to the cushions. So sweet is going to balance out that bitterness. So lots of options there. Honey, maple syrup, you know, sauteed Vidalia onion, which is gives that nice sweet flavor. In this salad here to the side, you can see, you know, they've added berries. You know, they've added all kinds of kiwi and all kinds of berries, but even mandarin oranges. And then your fats, again, also help. So nuts and seeds and their butters. So I'm thinking like a peanut, like a Thai peanut sauce, or using tahini in a dressing, cheese, oils, avocado. So again, you know, and I have avocado there, but you can also add, you know, avocado as a dip like guacamole, tzatziki, hummus. All of these things are considered what they call cushions to kind of help ease that bitterness of the vegetable. So again, I kind of already talked about the cooking method, but again, for sweeter, smokier, or crispier vegetables, roast in the oven, grill on the barbecue, try even the air fryer. Some people are using air fryers now, sauteing or steaming. So really those methods might, if you haven't had vegetables that way, that might improve the taste versus your kind of boiled veggies. So here I just have a couple of examples that you can see kind of the ingredients. So, you know, in the cabbage example you can see the sweet and the sour, you have your oranges, or orange juice, sorry, your apples, and then you have in your onion, and you have your sour, your red wine, you have your fat with that little bit of butter, your sweet with the brown sugar, the cinnamon. So those, and you know, the next one in the salad here, again, you've got apple cider vinegar, you've got cilantro, lime zest, honey. So you can see how many recipes, you know, naturally kind of do this. So if you can learn how to do this a little bit on your own in the kitchen, I think you might enjoy the veggies a little bit more. So time, efficiency, and thinking ahead, right? So I always say that, you know, eating well unfortunately takes time. So I have to make it a priority, but there are ways to kind of cut back and, you know, have those little shortcuts to save you a little bit of time. Oh, sorry. So number one, so prep in bulk or have planned extras or, you know, leftovers. So I always find that, you know, if I buy a cantaloupe, it will sit there and no one will eat it. If I cut up the entire cantaloupe and put it in a container, it will be eaten in a matter of hours. So, you know, part of that is visibility. Part of it is, you know, it's cut up for them, is ready to go. But, you know, why not cut up the whole thing and have it in the container and ready to go? Same with lettuce. So if I wash and spin my lettuce, I'm much more likely to make a salad than if I don't. So wash and spin the lettuce, and then you want to wrap it in paper towel and put it in a freezer bag, and will actually last longer like that. Most vegetables and fruits you don't want to wash before you use them, but for leafy greens, some leafy greens, it actually is beneficial to wash them first and wrap them in paper towel and then put them in a freezer bag. So again, it's just kind of prepping in bulk so that it saves you time later on. So same goes, just some examples here. So if you were to roast or grill a lot of veggies, then you can, you know, one day you can just have them veggies on the side. The next day you might put them on a little pita pizza, or you might throw them in a sandwich or a wrap. The next day you might put them in a frittata at breakfast time. So there's lots you can do with them if they're ready to go. Same goes for, you know, your cut up vegetables, you know, peppers, carrots, cauliflower, broccoli, those kinds of cut up vegetables. You know, you can eat them with a dip one day, the next day throw them in a stir fry. The day after that, then they're kind of starting to go a little, add them to a soup or make a soup with them. You can also, you know, if cutting up the veggies, is a chore, then you can always purchase like pre-cut vegetables if that makes it a little easier for you. It's more expensive, but sometimes that if you're going to eat it, then it's not wasted. So it's worth it. Again, there's my cabbage example. So, because we tend to buy, you buy that red cabbage and what am I going to do with it? So chop it up, add it to salad. The next day, it might go into a Buddha bowl. The following day, you could stir fry it. And if you still have some left, you can even pickle it. So big batch cooking. So again, preparing meals in advance can be helpful in preparing, larger amounts than what you need for one meal so that you can freeze them in smaller containers and freeze them in the container size that you're going to use. So, if it's only one person, then you could put it in a smaller container than if you're going to feed the family of 4. So you can use everything up by making things like soups, stews, chilies, quiches, muffins. These are all things that freeze really well. So, again, cooking in bulk can save you time for those days where you have less time or you just really don't have the energy or feel like cooking. It's always great to be able to go to the freezer and pull something out. So I don't know about you, but I'm not a fan of doing a ton of dishes. So I love, one pot or these sheet pan meals. And they're great for having more veggies in your life because you can just add extra veggies to them. So I'm like one pot meals, I'm thinking of soups and stews and casseroles where you can really make them veggie dense. Your sheet pan meals, I really like this picture because it's a good example of using lots of different types of veggies and having them so you just, put parchment paper down or a nonstick sheet down, and then you cook your protein and your vegetables all together at the same time. Sometimes you add the depending on the vegetable, sometimes you will add it later in the cooking process. And it usually, a recipe will suggest a different type of kind of like a marinade or a sauce that you can put on it and cook with it with spices and herbs. So it's those are really delicious. And it makes quite a bit. So planned leftovers for the next day, which is great. And again, it's only one dish. So that's fantastic. So less time in the kitchen. So another idea for less time in the kitchen would be to not cook at all. So when you think about, having a big salad for your dinner with some protein and starch added on the side, things like that. So it doesn't always have to be a cooked meal. It could be a veggie and hummus wrap or something like that. So lots of options there. So small changes can make a big difference. So really I'm encouraging you to start where you're at. So sometimes it can be overwhelming. You can go, I'm really not doing that half plate. I'm really not there. So start somewhere, start small. Maybe it's just adding a fruit to your breakfast, bringing some raw veggies with you with your lunch at work. So just starting where you're at. Encourage you to choose a new color because I think that's fun. So go through the grocery store and try to find something bright that you haven't tried before and just explore and experiment. Like we said, it takes time to change those taste buds. But I think with some, with some exploring and experimenting, you will find your way. So, and, again, have fun with it, right? Food is great. And we can have lots of fun and enjoyment with it. So I just want to point you to some resources as well. I have kind of created or put together a couple of resources that Kristen will send to you with the evaluation for today. So most of them come from Half Your Plate. There's a one-page storage guide, a one-page, how to make your veggies taste even better. So a couple things that you'll receive with the evaluation. So again, that halfyourplate.ca, fantastic resource, lots of recipes, videos, all kinds of ideas. Love Food, Hate Waste. Again, under inspiration, it has that 5 ways with fruits and vegetables. It also has it for, for other food groups as well and what to do with, kind of those things that are left over. whfoods.com. That's World's Healthiest Foods. I really like this website. If you go, you scroll down to the recipe assistant, because they're very simple recipes that, you know, and for things that you may not be used to cooking. So something new you will find, and they're usually pretty simple recipes, which I like. I already mentioned the Guelph Family Health Study Rock What You've Got cookbook. So this is a fantastic cookbook about reducing food waste, and kind of, like I said, that cook once, eat twice, using the whole ingredient, lots of great ideas. There's also, this is kind of the newer book that I just found out about. It's called Scraps Book, and it's actually by IKEA, and it's free. Again, it's a free download online. Again, looking at food waste, and lots of really nice recipes in that book. So I want to say thank you for joining me today, and I hope that I've given you a little inspiration or some ideas